the ground reaches slowly and surely for the next handhold. A beautiful sunset and a roaring river below makes the scenery almost perfect. I'm not doing that. Well, maybe a foot above the ground with a mat. Hi, I'm Irene, and for my 8th grade project, I chose rock climbing. I chose this project mostly as a last resort, but I ended up enjoying it immensely. I used to be afraid of heights, but now I greatly enjoy them. Knowing you could just be seconds from death gets my heart racing. So the first thing you need to know about climbing is there are more than 20 different kinds, including mountaineering and ice climbing, which are kind of self-explanatory, then trad climbing, which is traditional climbing, and here's a weird one for you, tree climbing. The routes I did at the gym were around 30 feet, but outside they can range from 30 to 300 feet. For each route, there's also a rating, each starting with a 5 point and then another number. At my gym, from 5.5 to 5.12. When it starts getting to double digits, like 5.10, 11, and 12, there's an A, a B, a C, or a D after it, which I did some of those. The first kind of climbing I did was called top ropes, and that's the one that I was just explaining. The second kind of climbing I did is called bouldering. Bouldering is a little more hard for me because you aren't attached to anything, but they can only range from like 20 feet to 10 feet, and they're done on boulders. Bouldering is kind of difficult for me, and I need to work on it a lot. So the first thing I did when I started my project is I signed up for some beginner classes at a gym not too far away from my house called Recreation. I figured that if I signed up for some classes, I would find a mentor. I was right. The first class I took, I found a mentor who I thought would be my mentor, but a week later I had learned he had moved away. Luckily, I had 2 more classes to find a mentor. The second class I took, I did. My mentor at that class, Daniel Ramos, became my mentor. The first class I took, I learned how to do something called belaying, which is where you use this device, which I have right here, and you connect it to your harness like this, and you put the rope through, and this is what holds the climber up if they fall, and also what lowers them. The second thing I learned was how to climb a climber's knot, or a double figure 8 knot. That is what the climber uses to tie in before they climb. Sometimes if the belayer is smaller than the climber and the climber falls, the belayer might fly up and hit the wall, which has happened to me a couple times. The first time I went outside climbing, next slide, please. My second and third class I took, I learned some techniques to help me climb with more ease and less huffing and puffing. I learned to climb more like a sloth, slowly and surely, instead of, say, a monkey or an ape who jumps haphazardly about the wall. One of these techniques I learned is called a heel hook. It's where you can't quite put your foot on the next foothold like you're stepping on a step, so you have to put your heel up on it, then you slowly move your weight forward, and so getting onto and you just stand up. I don't really like this move very much because I don't know why I don't like it, but I don't. It's used more in bouldering, I think, and I obviously have to work on that. So another great move I learned is called smearing. Smearing is when you have no foothold, so you just put your foot on the wall and make one out of nothing by applying pressure, and then just kind of trying to run up the wall, I guess. I use that move a lot more. So the first time I went outside, I went to a place called Riverside Quarry, which is not too far away from here. It's about an hour. And my mentor, Daniel, and his girlfriend, Jackie, took me there, and he told me all the things you need to know about climbing outside. He used, to set up the route for me, because I don't know how to climb the way he was climbing, which is called lead climbing, he would use something called a quick draw, which is this, which is basically 2 carabiners right next to each other. And he would have that connected to him on one of his loops on his harness. Then he would have a rope attached to his belay loop. Then he would start climbing with nothing holding him. Then he would get to the first bolt in the wall. He would put his quick draw, this, in the wall, then his rope through that, and he would continue to climb, and he would put the next quick draw in and so get it to the top of the wall. If he fell, he would just fall to where the next quick draw was. At the top of the wall, he would set up a system, like an anchoring system, which was a little stronger than a quick draw. And then Jackie would lower him, and then the route would be set up. Then I would climb it. I immediately found out that it's a lot harder to climb outside than inside. Next slide, please. The first route I climbed was a 5.6, and then the second route was a 5.7. The third route was a 5.10A, which I could not finish. And then I did Victory Lap 5.9. I fell a couple times, as you can see here. But after I would climb, his girlfriend, Jackie, would climb the route, and then at the top of the wall, she would set up a rappelling system where she would, I don't know how to do it because it's very advanced, but she would set up something called a fireman's rappel. Then Daniel, who was belaying her, would go off belay, and then he would lower himself. She would lower herself and take all the quick draws and all our equipment off the wall. Then at the bottom of the wall, she would just pull the rope, and there was nothing left on the wall. I was very sore after I went rock climbing first outside, so I went home and took a hot bath. The second time I went climbing, I went to a place called New Jack City, which is a little farther in Mojave. That time, when we got there, it was freezing cold. Well, freezing for California people. And it didn't really get warmer over the course of the day. The first route I did was a 5.9. It was 50 feet high and in the shade. Only not even halfway up the wall, my fingers were freezing. As you can see, I'm warming my hands right there. Second route I climbed was a little easier. It was a 5.8, and it was 75 feet high, so a little higher. That one was also near the same area, just around the corner. And my fingers were once again freezing. The last route I did was a 5.10A. It was 90 feet high, and it was pretty hard. It was called Holy Moly. I remember that name. So it was kind of difficult, and around the top of the wall, it was windy, so I kind of got blown. I was blown around, kind of. Next slide, please. That's my mentor, Daniel Ramos. Next slide. On one of the moves I was making, there was only one handhold that I could use, and it was pretty sharp. So I cut my hand on that, and I didn't really notice I had cut myself until I was about halfway up the wall, because my fingers were freezing. Next slide, please. That's me at the top of the wall. 9 feet in the air.
That's so cool.
I love the whole experience, and I would love to continue to climb. I would like to thank my parents for funding this experience, to Sage, Elijah, and my big brother Nathan for going rock climbing with me. I'd also like to thank my mentors, Daniel and Jackie, for taking me outside and teaching me all skills and everything. Thank you. Questions? Any questions, actually?
Yeah, do you plan on doing any more?
I would love to, yeah. In the near
Right.
future.
You have a question?
Yes, I've been rock climbing before.
Whoa.